Hey guys, welcome back to our channel. It's Brittany and Tony here, and we're really excited to welcome you to our first video of our how-to series. So for our first video, we are going to be talking about how to plan a road trip.
It's going to be fun and
exciting.
Yeah.
And we're going to go into a little bit more detail about how we planned our California trip and how you can apply that to really any other road trip.
Yeah.
All
so
right.
Stay tuned.
Alright, so as previously stated, we are going to talk to you guys today about how to plan your road trip. We're going to use the example of our road trip that we just got off of a couple of months ago, down Highway 1. This road trip went really well, so we feel like we have some good tips. This has also been a question that we have gotten from a lot of people in our travel groups, so hopefully this will answer some of those questions about how to plan, tips and tricks of road trips, and all of that good stuff. So, ready to jump in?
Yep.
All right. So step number one, we basically started with planning our route. So I would definitely say that that's a good starting point. You need to know where you're going to start your trip, where you're going to end your trip, and then you can build out everything around that. You can look for point of interest along the way, plan out the best roads to take. If you want a more scenic route, then choose that, or if you want to get there as quick as you can choose that too. So definitely have a starting point and your ending point.
Yeah, so for our California trip, we knew we wanted to start off in San Francisco, and then we wanted to make our way down to LA or that area, so we basically had our two endpoints. Then we kind of thought about it. The main reason was because we wanted to be able to see the coast on Highway 1, and if you're going down the coast, you want to be closest to the ocean, which is on the right side. So south, or traveling from San Francisco to LA, made the most sense. If we would have come the other way, then it would have been hard to see the ocean. You still would have seen it, but we were really close to the ocean on going the other way. So that's the main reason we chose that.
So if you are going down Highway 1, again, this is for any road trip, but if you are going to go down Highway 1, just a little tip: if you travel south, then the ocean will be on your right, where you can easily look over. You don't have cars passing where it's hard to see, so that's a good idea too. But of course, if you're going to use this for any other road trip where it's not going to be down Highway 1, I would definitely say, make sure that you're going to take the roads that are going to accomplish your goals. So like I said, if you want a more scenic route, make sure that you kind of research the routes that you're going to be taking, because normally there's more than one way to get to where you're going. So just make sure that you research that a little bit.
Yeah, and it's one more thing is, you may not think of the ocean being on your right side, but that was just something we thought about. And also it made it easier to pull off the side of the road, because we didn't realize how many pull-offs there were, but like how many times we would want to actually pull off, but we pulled off at least 15 times the way down. So
it was really cool. Yeah, and that was something that we thought about, but we didn't really realize until we were on the way down. But
yeah,
it was really cool.
We knew there were a few places to stop as far as towns or whatever, but we didn't realize how many pull-offs there would be. And if you ever travel it, you'll understand why they're there, because it's just
And so for those of you watching, I think on the West Coast, like for us, it's a pull-off, like an overlook. But on the West Coast, I think they call them Vista Points.
Yeah.
So we're talking about vista points to pull off on the side of the road so you can get out of your car and kind of overlook the ocean. So
that's step one.
Step one, check.
So step two would be to do your research, and what we mean by that is you want to research where you're going to stay or where you want to stay. Consider the travel time from Airbnb to Airbnb, or however you're traveling from one place to the other, and also use your resources such as Google or any other search engine. And if you have friends that live in or around the area or have traveled through that area, make sure to reach out to them. I have a buddy who lives in California down below LA. His name is Drew Rice. He actually has a YouTube video or YouTube channel, and he gears it around finance. So if you want to check out his YouTube channel, it's in the description below. So
he was super helpful for us, so I'm sure that he can help you guys out as well.
So
thank you, Drew, for that. We really appreciate all of your advice.
For sure. So just do your research and make sure you know what you want to do. That's the main thing. And some examples of that, I think, from our trip. So one thing that I did is whenever we figured out, okay, we're going to start in San Francisco, we're going to go to LA, is I started to look up, basically I just did a Google search of like the best places to stay along Highway 1, and Santa Cruz came up, and just like all these different little cities and towns and things like that. So we were able to then pinpoint, okay, we have our start and our end point, but then we were also able to lay out, okay, Santa Cruz is 2 hours from San Francisco, so we can stay here. And we also had to be really careful with our time, because since we were covering all the way from San Francisco to LA, that's like an 8-hour, 9-hour drive down Highway 1. If you take other routes, it's a little bit quicker, but down Highway 1, it's a lot longer. Might be even longer. I don't know.
Yeah, and then also the thing about California, I don't want to just talk about California because we want to make this fit to anything, but in California, there were areas where there like weren't any hotels. It was just like nature and parks and all of this stuff. There wasn't hotels and Airbnbs. So that's something to think about too, especially if you're traveling out like in the Midwest and the desert areas. You definitely need to make sure, even, not in the desert areas, you definitely need to make sure that you're going to have places to stay, restaurants, all of that stuff around you, and make sure that you calculate that into your time traveled. So back to the example, San Francisco and Santa Cruz are like 2 hours apart. We drove 2 hours. So then the next day we had a longer drive and longer travel time. So, you just really have to think about that. Plan it out, do your research, see what is going to fit what you want to get out of the trip, which then leads us into step 3, which is your goals and priorities for the trip. So you definitely need to know, what do you want to get out of the trip? What are your goals? And then you're going to have to set priorities, especially depending on how much time you have. So the hardest thing I would say for us on this trip was making sure that we enjoyed everything, but we also stayed on our time schedule, just because when you're doing a trip like this, we stayed in 5-6 cities over 10 days. So so you have a lot of travel time and everything that you have to allot for. So there were certain things that we had to cut out that we wanted to do, but we took priority over maybe having like a more relaxing, easier time where we didn't have to rush. We wanted to really take everything in that we were seeing, and we didn't want to have to rush ourselves. So really, you're going to have to set your goals and priorities. I think one of our examples from California, you can go ahead and talk about it.
So that takes us to the pandemic.
Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah, so we started planning this trip, as I think we've mentioned before, in November of 2019 last year, and the trip was for August
2020.
Yeah, so our goals originally changed after the pandemic started in March of this year. Originally, we had ideas of going to, I think, this Academy of Sciences and a few other places.
We're kind of nerds, so
yeah. So we thought about doing that. There's also Alcatraz, a few other things to do in San Francisco,
and also mention some restaurants that we really wanted to go to. Like I'm a huge weird reality fan, so I love Vanderpump Rules, and so we wanted to go to Tom Tom and some of their other bars, but they're closed. So.
Yeah, so our goals and priorities changed because of that. Luckily, there were still some places open.
Yeah.
But so instead of planning for that, we started planning more for outdoor trips. So we were going to do some outdoorsy stuff anyway, but we ended up mainly doing a lot of hiking. We're not talking 10, 20 miles a day, but
we did go on a 6, almost 7 mile hike
up a mountain
through. We went through the
Big Basin,
Redwood
State Park, I believe. Yeah.
Yeah, and which also the week after, or the week that we got back, a huge fire came through and destroyed all the buildings and marked a lot of the trees and stuff like that. So it was that's really sad because we had just gone through it. But I'm so thankful. I'm not thankful for the coronavirus. Let's just put that out there. But I'm so thankful that our goals and priorities did change for the trip because we got to experience that. We got to see elephant seals, which I love, and all kinds of different marine life because of that and everything. And so I think that one of the main things is being flexible, just because you always have to, be ready for something to happen.
So, yeah, I mean, you just got to be ready to change your goals and priorities because anything can happen.
Yeah, which takes us into step 5.
No, step 4.
Step 4.
Yeah.
Step 4, which takes us into step 4. Expect the unexpected, because this was a common theme that happened to us.
It was pretty wild. I'm gonna grab my coffee for this one.
So a quick little story that didn't really come out in our videos. This is a great example of expect the unexpected. We planned this trip, as Tony just said, in November of 2019. So one of the great things about Airbnb is if you book in advance, a lot of times you can get great deals, a lot cheaper places to stay and everything like that. So we had planned to stay in Beverly Hills. We were the street over from Rodeo Drive. It was this really, really, really cool place. It was in the top of a house, had a flat roof so you could go out there and see the city at night, and it was amazing. So we were packed. Our Lyft was on the way to our house to pick us up for us to go to the airport in August. We're leaving to get on the plane to go to California, and we get a notification from Airbnb that our stay had been canceled. And that's all we had. That's all the information we had. So me and Tony start panicking, and we're what are we gonna do? We're literally getting on the airplane, and we had researched so much, the areas, and I mean, for months, we researched every single Airbnb that we stayed at. We had made sure that it was gonna be clean, that it was gonna be sanitized, all of the things. It was a
really good deal for the area. So.
Yeah, it was such a good deal. So when this was canceled, it was a big deal for us because we're we've done months of research on different Airbnbs and amenities and different things and the areas that we were going to be staying in and different things we can do in those areas. And it's in the middle of a pandemic. We need it to be clean and all of these things. And we had to do it on the fly because we were getting ready to get on the airplane. And when we looked in that same area, there was 2 Airbnbs, and they were $2,000 a night, something ridiculous in that area. So we had to change our complete area that we stayed in. So we were going to be staying in Beverly Hills. We wound up staying in Venice Beach. We found this really cool Airbnb. It's one of the coolest Airbnbs that we've ever stayed at. It was a tree. It was modeled after a tree house.
Yeah.
Which was really cool.
It was above the garage, basically. But
yeah, it was.
There was a tree right there, and it kind of looked like it was built into the tree. So.
Yeah, and they like gave us bikes to use so we could ride to the beach and everything like that. So it was really stressful for, you know, an hour of our lives trying to rush and figure out, okay, well, now we're not going to be able to stay in Beverly Hills. Where are we going to stay? Like, is this area like cool? Like, what are we going to do? You know, we had no idea. And we had planned, we had an itinerary for, you know, every day and all this stuff. So like everything changed as we're getting on the plane. And, you know, we really didn't know where we were going to be staying at that point. Luckily, that was the last Airbnb that we were staying at. So we did have like a week if we needed to change anything. But those people were amazing. They took us last minute. It was a little bit more expensive than the Airbnb just because it was last minute. But it was really cool. And I'm actually very thankful. Not that the first one wouldn't have been cool, but I'm actually really thankful that we stayed where we were because it was one of our favorites on the trip.
Yeah, I'd say it was. We didn't go to the other place, but it probably turned out better because we were able to ride our bikes to the beach and stuff like that. So we wouldn't have been able to do that from Beverly Hills because it's like a 25-minute drive to the ocean. So
yeah, I didn't mention this. It wasn't like a malicious thing that happened that it was canceled. The night before it was canceled, a pipe burst and flooded the entire Airbnb. There was like 3 foot of water in the Airbnb. And I felt really bad because the owner was going to have to tear out like all the floors, all the plumbing. It was going to be like tens of thousands of dollars of damage and repairs that she was going to have to do. So it wasn't anything like she just wanted to cancel. It was that like her entire Airbnb was destroyed. So we completely understood it. It put us in a little bit of a bind. But back to the point of, you know, this trip, when we planned this trip, we had no idea that there was going to be a pandemic for one. And then no idea that last minute we were going to have to figure out where we're going to stay. But in the end, everything worked out. We were able to explore and see really, really cool things. And I'm just thankful that all of the unexpected things did happen. Goals and priorities are going to have to change. But... But as the last step, we put... It's not about the destination, but it's about the journey. And that's one thing that we just kept saying to each other on the trip. If we were like behind schedule or not behind schedule, but like if things weren't working out how we thought they were going to be, like one day on our drive, we planned for a long drive day where we came.
I think it was from Santa Cruz to Grover Beach.
Yeah, which is like... If you drive it straight and don't stop, it's like a 4.5 hour drive. But we pulled off like a lot. And
well, yeah, because that one's the stretch of, so it's the stretch through Big Sur and a few other places, and it's literally in the middle of nowhere. Big Sur is like nothing out there besides some farms, maybe, and then it's nothing. So there's not even houses really, except for a handful on the if
you're on Highway 1.
Yeah, on Highway 1 there were a few houses maybe the whole way down. So it was a huge stretch of just
we saw wells twice down that
and then we went to Pfeiffer.
Yeah, we went to Pfeiffer Beach. So it was all these things that we didn't really plan. Our like 4.5 hour drive turned into like an 8 hour drive day, which was completely fine with us. You know, we got to see wells, like I said. We saw elephant seals that day. We just got to see all these really cool things. We stopped along the way and had like the best clam chowder we've ever had in our entire lives.
Morro Bay. So
yeah, check that out. What is that?
Dorn's Breakers Cafe.
Yes, if you're ever in Morro Bay, stop there. It's
an awesome town. It's like a little retirement bay town or whatever. I don't know what you'd call it.
It's really cute.
It's really cool.
Everybody's
and
really chill.
When you sit outside at Dorn's, the bay's over to your left, and you can
see a really good view.
Yeah, see a few boats out there.
Yeah. And there's
people
some
are kayaking
seals.
the whole time out there. It was too
Yeah.
cold for that. It was really cold, so we didn't do that. Even
Yeah.
in August, it's cold.
Also, that's probably something else that goes with expect the unexpected. So when we went, there's this thing called June Doom, where it apparently can happen. I found this in my research. It can happen between June and August, and we were there during the like week of that. So it was cold and it was foggy the like entire time, except for when we got to like Laguna, LA, like Newport area. So that was another thing. It was really, really cold. So we weren't expecting that because we came from like 101 degrees in North Carolina to 65 degrees all the way down the coast of California. So pay attention to the weather too.
Yeah, it can
That's
be.
important. Is that like step 6? I don't know. Pay attention to the weather. But anyway, so that brings us to the conclusion of our video. Unless you have anything else to add.
No.
We hope this was helpful. You know, these are just some things that helped us. I'm sure there's things that we're missing. So if you have any questions, please put that down in the comments. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Turn on the notifications.
Always like and subscribe.
Always like and subscribe. And tell
share.
us if you like our videos. You know, it's always great to hear from you guys. We've heard a lot from the people that are in our travel groups, and we love meeting you guys. So please keep sending us messages and comments and all of those things. We really appreciate all of that. But
yeah, and we're trying to do more informative videos as well, I guess.
yeah, so let us know if you like
travel,
it.
So
Yeah.
yeah.
All right. Well, with that, we'll see you guys later. Stay tuned.
Stay tuned.